Good evening and thank you very much for joining us in one of your favorite evening debate program. It is Viewpoint on TBS television and we are live into the studios of Douala. Tonight we are going to be going economic. We are going to be touching some aspects relating to the economy of Cameroon, and as part of its ambition to accelerate the structural transformation of the country's economy as enshrined in the National Strategy for Development 2030. Stakeholders in the Ministry of Economy, Planning and Regional Development assembled in Yaoundé, that is last week, and according to them, to find ways in order to review the country's structural transformation as far as its economy is concerned. And to talk about this, we are honored to have an economist with us in the studio and an entrepreneur, equally an economist as well, to look at this, or why not even help stakeholders look into some of the challenges that they might be reviewing. I'm talking of Akum Deep, not the first time that we are having him on Viewpoint, and of course APN Ochavi, this a regular panelist that will always show up as duty calls. I could put it that way. Good evening to you, Akum Deep, and it's a pleasure having you.
Yeah, good evening, Vanessa. Good evening to all the viewers in Cameroon, and I want to wish Happy New Year to all the viewers of Viewpoint, and to encourage them to keep watching the program.
APN Ochavi, it's always a pleasure as well.
Yeah, it's always my pleasure. It's a privilege for me to be here and to be able to share my viewpoints with the audience. I want to say good evening to everyone watching from home.
Everyone watching from home, and stay tuned to DBS or stay tuned to Viewpoint, and let's ride on. In the first part, are there challenges associated to the structural transformation of Cameroon's economy? Now, shall I begin with you?
Yes, they are.
Yes, there are. Sandeep?
Yes, there are.
And is there any way out of such a setbacks, Deep?
Yes.
Notch?
It will definitely be always.
Definitely, yes. Let us have your viewpoint. Are there challenges associated to the structural transformation of Cameroon's economy? That is what we are finding out. And Deep, as an economist, what are some of those challenges being faced by this transformation, given that presently, as we are talking, it is under review?
Yes, Vanessa. First of all, if our topic of today is review of the structural transformation program put in place by the economy of Cameroon, and from all indication, if they are reviewing, it means they have had some setbacks. So that's the first thing. We can only review something if it has an issue. So definitely there have been some challenges, and one of those challenges which are paramount is the aspect that most of these programs are long-term. They are programs which are built for a period of 20 to 30 years. We're talking about the National Development Program for 2030. So it is but obvious that it must have some challenges, because if you look at the time period, such programs were built in the 90s. Gradually, they are being reviewed to tell you that within that long-term period, there are going to be some economic perturbations that can occur. From the look of things, we were not expecting COVID-19. So the advent of all those economic conjunctures, when they come in, they would disrupt an established program. So definitely one of the causes of such review or challenges is the time period. Most of these programs are built on long-term basis, and therefore they are eligible to face some dysfunctioning because of the time period. Secondly, the second challenge that such structural adjustment programs can face is the financing. We can build a good program, development program, but with the state of our economy, we need to finance those programs. And by the time, it's just like you constructing a good plan for your house, your desired house, which you desire to build. And in the course of you realizing that plan, you realize that one of your challenges you face is financing. Mm-hmm. So one of the challenges to these programs are financing. And from recent studies, it shows that most of these programs are geared or are supervised by the international institutions. They are the ones who give recommendations to these programs, and they are the ones who fund these programs. So therefore, one of the biggest challenges is to have the finance to go through to make sure these programs are successful. So if you look at the transformation program for Cameroon 2030, which is emergence, you realize that we are solely or paramountly counting on donations, loans, or external financing. And to get external financing, you must agree with the terms of the donor, because there is no free lunch. There is no donor who accepts to contribute to your development program by financing it without giving his preconditions. So most of the challenges that developing countries will always face is that there are preconditions which are attached to the financing of their development programs.
And probably at times not favorable to them.
Good, and not favorable to them. Mm-hmm. So that is another challenge. Mm-hmm. Then we also looked at conflicting with other objectives. Most of these programs are built to achieve a specific objective. For example, Cameroon preparing a development program for 2030 or 2030. There are targets that development program want to achieve. Those targets are targets for long term. They might end up conflicting with our short-term targets, because every economy has a long-term and a short-term target. Maybe our short-term target is to curb down inflation, which Cameroon is trying to do. That's a paramount short-term target of Cameroon, or objective, to stabilize the prices, to make sure that our price of basic commodities don't increase. But if at the same time we're trying to build another program for long-term, that short-term objective of price stabilization, which is curbing inflation, may conflict with the program objective for long-term, which could be economic growth. So therefore, if you are curbing inflation, you are reducing the capacity of investors to compete in the market, and therefore it might not necessarily lead to growth in future. So you see that the third challenge is that there is always a conflict between the development program objectives and the short-term objectives or current objectives of the economy. Then also we realize that the management of these programs, most of these programs are copied from successful programs of other countries. And if we copy a program that has been used in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Ethiopia, we bring it to Cameroon, which might not have the same characteristics, it becomes a problem. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at what the international institutions like the IMF and the World Bank Group, World Health Organizations, we look at their programs when they prepare it for developing countries. They don't take into consideration the specific nature of each developing country. A program that can be successful in Nigeria cannot be successful in Cameroon. A program that can be successful in Ethiopia might not be successful in Cameroon, because there are specific factors of each economy. But I'm happy that the Ministry of Planning, Regional Development, they are trying to make a review to suit this program to the context of Cameroon.
Thank you, Akumtip. Epia Nochavi, from adding from what Ndip just said, what are some of those other challenges that might come in play?
I particularly appreciated a lot Mr. Ndip's analysis when it comes to structural transformation. And he spoke exactly like an economist, which was very wonderful. But I would like us to first of all understand practically as an entrepreneur. I want people viewing home to understand when we talk of structural transformation, what it involves. In every economy, there are two things that matters when we are talking about economic aspect. We're talking about productivity, and we talk of let me call it labor. And structural transformation is simply shifting the economy, increasing the level of productivity and labor intensive economic activities to bringing up higher productivity and skilled economic activities. So from labor intensive economic activities to skilled intensive economic activities. And you realize that to be able to have these, to set up programs like Mr. Ndip used in his last expressions that will suit the context of the country in which we are, because you cannot directly copy from other countries or just take what other countries are putting in place. You have to look at the difficulties that we face in that country. And I'm going to talk about three challenges. The first challenge I'm going to talk about is the socio-economic inequality between rural and urban areas that exist in Cameroon. The first thing is that in rural areas, Vanessa, the percentage level of poverty rate is at 70%, while in urban areas, poverty rate is at 5%. That's statistics from the World Bank. So just imagine, look at the difference. In rural areas, you have 70% poverty rate, and in urban areas, you have 5%. They need to, first of all, create programs that can be able to create this balance. Because urban areas, how many urban towns do we have in Cameroon? That's the first thing. And how many rural towns do you have in Cameroon? So even up in rural areas, we have 70% poverty rate. It means that there is a problem. It means that at the level of growing our economy, these areas will have little or no impact. And that is a problem. And when we are creating programs, we don't have to focus only on programs that will affect a certain zone and other zones will be left out. But we have to create programs that each area or wheresoever people find themselves,
They can benefit from it.
they can benefit from it. Remember I said at the beginning we are talking about productivity and shifting from labor to skills. So what workforce, for example, is applied? What are training programs that are applied in our country? How are people being trained, molded, educated to be able to avoid or stop thinking that it's only about using force or doing some hard work that you can grow? It's about, we are in a system where you need to think of what skills do you need to develop, what new skills do you need to acquire, and what area, what sector of activity can you impact, can you have a change. The second thing is the high percentage of people internally displaced as a result of natural disasters, and so it's a challenge.
Probably conflict as well.
Exactly. We have what's going on in the northwest and southwest. We have the issue of Boko Haram in the other parts, and all of that has been over the years.
The Arab Shores conflict.
All of that. Mm-hmm. No matter the program that you put in place, these aspects are a big challenge, because if you have 10 regions in a country like ours with 25 million or 25 plus million people, and you have two regions that have approximately 3 plus million inhabitants that are not stable, then whatsoever program you're putting in place, 1/5 of your country is already affected. So automatically it becomes a problem. There is an issue of imbalance. There is an issue of, okay, people are not sure about what they are doing or what sector to improve in, how much impact they can have, because the minute you are not stable, you cannot focus on something. Okay, there are so many people that were building businesses in some of these regions that have moved to other regions, and today maybe they have to start other part-time jobs. Meanwhile, they were having, imagine someone that had his small business and he employed probably 10 people, and then today he finds himself in another region unable to set up that same business because maybe it was a business that was realistic to his environment where he was living. Now he cannot settle that same thing because the market is not the same. Maybe he starts looking for a part-time job. Automatically he's leaning on another person. Meanwhile, he had 10 others that were leaning on him. So all of these things are some of the challenges that we have. Another thing is, the third challenge that I want to bring about is the level of basic education that we have. We are trying to solve a problem at the top, but we are not looking at the bottom.
The root cause.
The basic education system, there is a lack of an exclusive basic education system in Cameroon. How many, and we can see this first at the level of the infrastructures. If you go to rural areas, how many, let's start with the primary schools, how many beautiful primary schools will you see? So it means that the investment put in these areas is small. You see, it's very small. Now, at the level of the teachers, okay, because if there is no infrastructure, if you're not, if we say that the government is recruiting teachers and all of that, but it's not enough, because when you go to schools, you still realize that in 100% individuals that are there to educate these kids, 70% or 65% are part-timers. So it means there is a problem. I mean, even in government institutions. So if 70% of the people there are part-timers, PTA teachers and all of that, there is a problem. It means that sufficient teachers have not been recruited enough. It means there is a lack. And once there is a lack, why is it a problem? Someone can feel I'm just bringing it up. It's not really a problem. But imagine that someone is teaching in 4 schools because he needs to catch up. Do you think that there is a maximum level of concentration? There is not. You know, this input is low, and all of this affects the entire mindset of people as they grow up, as they indulge in activities. The more time passes, it becomes a problem.
Okay. Anyway, out of such challenges or setbacks, after looking at the challenges or the difficulties enshrined in actually realizing the transformation of Cameroon's economy deep, so what are some of those aspects we can put in place to make sure that we effectively implement what is meant to be within our context?
All right. I think he already gave some. One of the, like he said, one of the points that in the course of review of this transformation program, the first thing is to ensure that the economy is suitable to adopt this program. And like he said, they should be able to resolve the internal conflict that is in Cameroon. Because no matter how much or how beautiful, how effective, how organized this program could be, if you put it in Cameroon, the regions like the far north, northwest, southwest, which are heavily hit with the crisis and the level of internally displaced persons, those areas will not have a pinch of this program. So I think before putting into place the implementation of the transformation program, there should be an enabling environment where this conflict is resolved. When this conflict is resolved, I think 100% success will be achieved and will be felt in the whole country. So because this aspect of conflict is stretching, is also causing a lot of other factors that can hinder certain strategies that are put in place. So I want to buy his point of resolving the internal crisis is one of the solutions. Because if we don't do that, our economy will not be stable and cannot accommodate any good program
And
for
the
development.
economic impact is already been felt.
Good.
The crisis.
Then the next is collaboration. I think the Ministry of Economic and Regional Development and Economy, that ministry is the one in charge of reviewing, structuring the economic programs. That ministry is supposed to work together with other ministries. Like I was talking about education, we talk about health. When people are not healthy, no matter how nice an economic program is, will not be successful. When the people are not enlightened, they are not educated, they are not literate, to help facilitate the implementation of this program in the next, 2030, in the next 10 years, that program will be a waste of time. Because you cannot put an adjustment program to reform the economy, to transform the economy. And there are no skilled labor, there are no people there to put in place this program. So the Ministry of Economy and Planning and Regional Development should be able to collaborate with other ministries to oversee the implementation of these transformation programs. And lastly, they should be able to curb out the social cost that will come from this program. Each and every program has a cost. So while looking at the benefits that will be reaped from this program, they should also look at the outcome, the cost, the effects that this program will bring. Because you cannot eat fry an omelette without cracking eggs. So therefore there must be setbacks. And those setbacks should be highlighted and try to come out with a framework where the program will not cause more social cost than the benefits we are going to derive from the program.
AP Nochavi, what is the way out of the challenges?
The first thing is that the government needs to expand its impact in different activities. Unfortunately, I just want to use it. It's not trying to be critical of what Mr. Ndif said, but I just want to use it as just imagine it's like a spontaneous thing that just happened. Most programs brought up by the government are centered on health and nutrition. That's the only area that the government always looks at sometimes to be able to create an impact. You know, today they have brought this in these hospitals, tomorrow they're trying to do this. Most programs, I tell you, 85% of programs, anything that is related to generating impact is always related to health and nutrition, and that is all. And that is what the problem is, because there are so many other activities, so many other sectors, you know, like Mr. Ndip then mentioned, where they should look at creating an impact, changing, and all of that. The second thing is the government should look for ways to be able to create more, like Mr. Ndip said, skilled labor, skilled individuals. You know, we are part of an economy where most people, like I already said at the beginning, are focused on what they can manually do. But that is not the world in which we are. Understand? We live in a world where you can pick up your phone and you write someone, and another person picks up a package for you, puts it in a van, on a bike, whatsoever, and you sit where you're seated, and he meets you, and you pay a small token, rather than rush maybe yourself to the market, rush in traffic, rush in and out, and so on.
Or where you could even use a phone to manipulate a machine.
Exactly. So skills. We need to focus on skills. The government needs to focus on improving our educational system, you know, improving the level of skills that people can acquire, you know, the possibilities of people to get trained, workshops and programs like that and all of that, and then see how to create more, like I already said at the beginning, more impacting and realistical solutions to the problems that we've outlined, and to other considerable problems that they'll have. Like Mr. Ndip mentioned, the first point, if we are living in a country where there is a lot of internal displacement because of conflicts in some areas. No matter the program that is put in place, we already have 2 to 3 regions affected, and I don't think that we'll be able to tap in or benefit more from the program with this margin of defect.
And probably adding to the point where you earlier said they should strike a balance in economic development.
Exactly.
Develop the rural areas as well as the cities have been developed. Thank you very much, APN Nojavi, for contribution. Mr. Antipa, hope to have you whenever opportunity comes.
Yeah, pleasures, man.
And the pleasure is equally as to you, televiewers of Viewpoint and DBS Television as a whole. Thank you very much for your keen attention. See you tomorrow, God willing. Happy viewing. Stay safe and stay out of trouble.